and welcome to the Intel Brief, your daily intelligence briefing on global geopolitics. Today is Thursday, 10 October. I'm your host Daniel, the founder of HM Intelligence, and every weekday we bring you not just the news, but the so what from the events and decisions that shape our world. So grab a coffee and get ready to be informed. In today's update, we'll be covering Hurricane Milton reaches the Atlantic as a Category 1 hurricane. Zelenskyy is in the UK for his victory plan support. And Swedish police are investigating a shooting near an Israeli target. So firstly, Hurricane Milton made landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast as a powerful Category 3 storm, bringing widespread devastation and knocking out the power for nearly 3 million people across the state. The storm hit particularly hard in counties such as Hardy, Hillsborough, Manti, and Sarosta, leaving up to 97% of homes in some areas without electricity. As Milton moved east across Florida, it weakened to a Category 1 hurricane, but continued to pack a powerful punch with winds up to 90 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center warned that even as a downgraded storm, Milton posed significant risks of flash flooding, river flooding, and further structural damage across southern Florida. Milton's rapid intensification stunned scientists, jumping from a Category 1 to a Category 5 within hours on Sunday and Monday before eventually making landfall. As the hurricane crossed into the Atlantic, emergency services warned that while the winds had lessened, the risks of heavy rain and flooding still persist. Rescue teams and government officials reported that the full extent of the storm's damage would become clearer in daylight. Thousands of evacuees sought refuge in shelters as the authorities responded to ongoing challenges of restoring power and addressing the storm's impact. So what? Regardless of where you stand on climate change, it seems pretty clear that weather patterns globally are becoming more extreme. It seems almost certain that without significant global investment and buy-in, which currently seems unlikely, that these trends will continue. Sadly, so long as there is a growing geopolitical tension and competition, it is highly unlikely that countries will look to cooperate on anything, let alone something that threatens their energy and food security. And next, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy met with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte in London to discuss Ukraine's ongoing fight against Russia's invasion. The meeting centered on the type of support Ukraine needs as it continues to resist Russia's advances. While the UK emphasized its stance on supporting Ukraine's right to defend itself, including potential strikes within Russian territory, it maintained its position on the use of long-range Storm Shadow missiles, stating that no single weapon would determine the outcome of the conflict. Rutte echoed the UK's stance, emphasizing that the individual NATO members would decide on their contributions regarding long-range weapons. Following these meetings in London, Zelenskyy is scheduled to visit Paris to hold discussions with French President Emmanuel Macron, and he will later meet with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. These diplomatic engagements aim to rally European support and secure additional resources for Ukraine's defensive efforts. Zelenskyy had initially planned to outline his plan for victory against Russia at a meeting in Germany, but it has been postponed due to US President Joe Biden's need to address the aftermath of Hurricane Milton. The diplomatic tour highlights Zelenskyy's effort to strengthen ties with key NATO allies amid the ongoing hostilities. So what? While no details have been confirmed about the plan, so far it has been received positively by world leaders. However, at the same time, there has been rumours that Ukraine has proposed a ceasefire that would see the borders set at the current right line of conflict, allowing them to receive security guarantees from the US and NATO and EU membership, though it is highly unlikely Russia will agree to this deal. Lastly, Swedish police are investigating a shooting near the Gothenburg office of the Israeli defense contractor Albeit Systems, where a young suspect has been detained. No injuries were reported, and the police have launched an investigation into the attempted murder with aggravated weapons. Later in the morning, bomb squad officers were called to handle a suspected dangerous object at the scene, leading to a large police operation and area lockdown. A Swedish newspaper reported that the detained suspect may be as young as 13. This incident is part of a series of security threats against Israeli interests in Sweden since the start of the Israel-Hamas conflict in October. Similar incidents have occurred throughout the year, including a suspected explosive object found near the same office and gunshots being fired at the Israeli embassy. Recently, Swedish authorities have increased security around Israeli and Jewish sites due to these ongoing threats. And in the UK, 7 people have been charged after pro-Palestinian protests at the Albeit facility there. So what? It seems highly unlikely that this attack would have been directed or supported by a large terrorist group. It is more likely that this is an individual supporter of the Palestinian cause and thought that his lone action might bring more attention to their plight. Sweden has been dealing with significant social issues recently due to an increase in organised crime, and it is possible that this person may be linked to one of these groups. Thank you for listening to the Intel Brief, your daily intelligence briefing on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. If you want to support the podcast, tell your friends to help them stay informed and leave us a 5-star review. Or if you want to learn more about intelligence, why not take one of our courses? They're all online, self-paced, and affordable. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you next time.